It is not the effort of the foreign powers that are stopping us from industrial manufacturing. We are the ones that are stopping ourselves. Before the white men came to Africa, who was disturbing us from industrialization? When you start to look for excuses, you will never be able to make progress. People say Nigeria is a giant of Africa. That is not true, but it can be true. If someone like Dangote, for example, is encouraged to employ Chinese as his workers, think of the advantage of that to Nigeria. We need government to support more people like Dangote. We need government to encourage entrepreneurs that are very, very industrious. We should put that in mind, that the Chinese have no interest in Nigeria except to extract our resources and take the funds out. If Nigerians can run banks, why can't Nigerians run factories? The problem is lack of electricity. What is in a bicycle, for example? What is in a motorcycle? What they call keke and peg. Can't we start from there? The Chinese are making tires here with rubber bought from my factory. 1950, China was zero, but they had a plan. There are human beings in this country that have so much money, they don't even know what to do with the money. I'm challenging them, bring some of this money to Nigeria and do something. Don't keep your money in Switzerland. It is possible for Nigeria to industrialize because we have gas. Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Caesar Iyayi. I am an advocate of the urgent need to industrialize Nigeria, to industrialize Africa. And I'm talking about Nigeria in particular because I want us to start from a place where you have the necessary fuel, which is natural gas. Because Nigeria has abundant natural gas, I believe Nigeria is a perfect starting point for Africa to industrialize. And that industrialization should start from Nigeria, from a place that will eventually truly become the giant of Africa. At the moment, people say Nigeria is a giant of Africa. We were hearing that 30 years ago, but that is not true. But it can be true if we do the right thing. But let me quickly make some comments regarding some of the replies we were getting on my YouTube channel, Facebook, and Instagram, that what is actually disturbing us from industrialization is the activities of foreign influence, like maybe Britain, Germany, France, America, perhaps Russia and others. I want to let everybody be aware that when you start citing excuses for your inaction, that is the foundation of failure. Definitely, America or Britain or China will not be anxious for Africa to industrialize. That is true. How did China, for example, become industrialized? Did America call China or Britain call China and say, come and industrialize? Mao Zedong, who led the revolution in 1947 or 1949, was the one that decided that in order for China to be able to compete with the Western power or with Russia, at that time Soviet Union, was for China to industrialize. When he took over China and the national government fled to Taiwan, a place called Taiwan now, he had the whole of Russia, China in his hands, and he asked himself, what am I to do with China? He knew they had to industrialize, and he took all necessary measures to make sure that they industrialize. And that is what I'm saying about Africa. You are talking about finding it difficult because Western powers are influencing us. I hear that from people all the time. And I wonder how they come up with this type of gibberish. How How did white people sail through the Atlantic to come to Africa, to come to our west coast, to come to Nigeria, to take over the whole of Africa? It was through science, industrial development. We didn't have the capacity to go there. Before the white men came to Africa, who was disturbing us from industrialization? A lazy man complains of tools. When you start to look for excuses, you will never be able to make progress. So I say to people all the time, don't make excuses for your failure. Instead, let us ask ourselves, what can we really do? As a matter of fact, today in Edo State, for example, the Chinese are melting iron, our scrap, to make iron rods. They are producing ceramic. They are producing glass. They are melting aluminum. All these are taking place with the assistance of the Chinese government. The Chinese, they design a plan and send them to Africa, particularly a place like Nigeria, where there's gas. They tap into our gas tap line and they start to manufacture different things. And how are they doing it? The finished materials, the important compounds, for example, when they are making ceramics, there are important compounds. They will bring those ones from China. They will only get clay from Nigeria, clay. They will only get sharp sand, white sand, to make their glass. All the other chemicals, they will import. Pay a visit to their factories. When you say the Chinese are hardworking, Nigerians are more hardworking than Chinese. If you are in that, go to their factories. You will see for yourself that the Chinese, they come to work at 7. At 12 o'clock, they'll go and have break for 2 hours. They'll come back at 2 and work at 5. By 5 o'clock, they are closed for the day. 24 hours, Nigerians are working around the clock to manufacture their products for them. The question that is begging for answer is this. Assuming somebody like Dangote is encouraged by Nigerian government, because the entire investment of the Chinese in that corridor is not up to $1 billion. Dangote is already worth more than $20 billion. If someone like Dangote, for example, is encouraged to employ Chinese as his workers, think of the advantage of that to Nigeria. Because the profit that is made by Chinese is repatriated to China. Dangote, on the other hand, is investing everything he has in Nigeria. We should applaud him. We need more people like Dangote. We need government to support more people like Dangote. We need government to encourage entrepreneurs that are very, very industrious to get into manufacturing. Support them financially, support them technically, support them with government assistance so that Nigerians will be manufacturing things here. The Chinese, where they are experts, we will be the ones to employ them. They should work for us as our employees. They should not come to Africa and be our boss. It's a disgrace. We should put that in mind, that the Chinese have no interest in Nigeria except to extract our resources and take the funds out. Those people that have their children here, someone like me, I have 2 wives and 6 children, they are all here. There are many people like that. Dangote, for example, seems to me his children are here in Nigeria. His investments are here. So a man like that will not earn money and go and hide it in Switzerland. He will not earn money and go and hide it in Britain. But the Chinese, the Indians, will earn money here and send the profit to their countries. So all these industries that are dominated by foreigners, they are avenues of siphoning our money to their country. It's like putting the water in a basket. It can never be filled up. If you want Nigeria to make progress, where the Chinese are manufacturing, give a distance and encourage Nigerian entrepreneurs. If Nigerians can run banks, why can't Nigerians run factories? The problem is lack of electricity. The problem is lack of funds. Now that we have a gas pipeline in Edo State, for example, near the Chinese, What should stop the Nigerian government from doing a pilot program by encouraging some Nigerians to hook up a generating plant, maybe for one plant, for example, 5 megawatts, 10 megawatts, or 20 megawatts. That should be able to power a number of multiple plants that will manufacture different things. What are the advantages of that? If you do that, you will not have to import those things that we manufactured here. What is in a bicycle, for example? What is in a motorcycle? What they call keke napep. Can't we start from there? The Chinese are making tires here with rubber bought from my factory. We cannot do it because we don't have the resources. They are doing it because their government have given them support. If Nigerians are earning money here and manufacturing finished products here, the government will not have to import those things anymore. And the profit will remain in Nigeria. That's not the plus for Africa. We should begin from somewhere. When people are looking at it, they say it's not possible. Let me give you an example. Let's talk about what happened to the Arabs. The year 1100 AD, the Islamic scholars, they named 3/4 of the stars you see in the universe. 3/4 of the stars in the universe. That is 75% of the stars in the universe as they stand today are carrying Arabic names. What does that tell you? It tells you that at a time, people that were Arab, that were practicing Islam, were at the cutting edge of science. Are you aware? Algebra, a branch of mathematics, was invented before the year 1100. That's before 12th century in Baghdad. Newton discovered calculus in the 1600s. You see, algebra, when Britain was bush, when the whole of Europe was full of barbarians, the Arabs were already at the cutting edge of science. Are you aware that algorithm, that is very powerful now in artificial intelligence, it's an Islamic word, it's an Arabic word. What happened to them? Somebody came in the year 1100, a scholar, and said, mathematics, arithmetic is a manipulation of the devil. Therefore, they must stop science. And that was how the Islamic world lost science. Western civilization picked it up. See the difference now. Look at the difference. Why am I telling you this? If Europe, America, that were behind the Islamic world in the year 1100, if by 2025 they are now billions of kilometers ahead of the Arabs, ahead of the Islamic world, that tells you that it is also possible for Africa that is behind today, that is the last. If we can start something within a short time, can also grow and become powerful. Because it took China only from the year 1950 to 2025. How many years is that? 75 years. 1950, China was zero, but they had a plan. They had a plan. They followed their plan meticulously. And now they are the second largest economy in the world. They are the industrial superpower of the world. Because almost everything that is consumed in America is made in China. Are you aware that your telephone, the iPhone that Nigerians are so proud of, it's not made in America? The Apple computer, Apple telephone that everybody is talking about, is made by a company in China. That is why Trump is saying today, let all the fascists return to America. He's going to put tariff on them so that all the companies can return to America. Because Trump is intelligent. He is aware that if you stop doing something, maybe you are a surgeon and you stop doing surgery, or you are a pilot, you stop flying. After 15 years, after 20 years, you may not be able to fly a plane very well again. You will never be able to fly that plane as meticulously as somebody that flies the plane every day. If you are a chief medical director of a hospital and you stop doing surgery, your doctors below you that are doing surgery every day, After 5 years, they'll become the experts and you become a novice. So it is important for us to start thinking. Let us just start something small. Let me tell you something about the Nigerian entrepreneurial spirit. Have you ever asked yourself why you have so many churches in Nigeria? Have you ever asked yourself why you have so many hotels? In Benin, for example, every street has up to 3 or 4 hotels. In Benin, every street has up to 4 or 5 churches. Let me tell you why it is so. When somebody opens a church and starts preaching, starts doing miracle, suddenly he sees that people are bringing money in and he's getting rich. So his friend that is working with him says, this man has become rich. I'll start my own branch. And now start his own branch. Before you know it, the churches will be multiplying. The same thing happens to a hotel. Somebody builds a hotel. He sees that after about 2 years, he's bidding more. The other man will say, if this guy is doing it, why can't I do the same? So we start bidding more another hotel. Before you know it, there's hotels everywhere. That is what's going to happen to manufacturing, industrial manufacturing. The moment you are able to light that fire and people see that somebody was able to establish a small factory that has 24 hours light, is able to melt iron and add other alloys to it. He's able to bring machine to melt the iron. Maybe he wants to make anything you want to make. Let's say, for example, we are still talking about cars, for example. What do you need to make a car? You need to melt iron, add the alloys to it, and then you want to make the doors, for example. You make an ingot and you start passing it through the rolling mills until it becomes flat, like a plate. And then it goes there, you stamp it, you have a door. You want to make an engine, you make a mold. You make the iron to liquid and pour it in there. Bring out the mold, take it to a lathe machine, what we call machine tools, and you clean it up. And you have an engine block. Don't even worry about making an engine, because the Chinese started by just making the body of the car and the chassis. And then they bring in an engine and put it in there. I just bought a Chinese truck, a Howo truck, and when we opened it, what do we find inside? A stir engine. Stir is made in Austria, but the entire body, everything else is Chinese. But the engine, because it is complicated, you have to use stir engine. Does that not make sense? Sort of importing the entire truck, they put only the engines, and everything else is made in China. Why can't we do that? I'm emphasizing these things now so that people will realize that it is not nuclear science, it is not brain surgery. It is something that's very simple that everybody has been doing before. I would say let's just copy it. We need somebody that has the courage to just give it a try. I sent a message to President Babangida recently. I don't know if he has gotten it. Maybe one day I'll give him a call. We need people that have access to money or that can raise money. Don't keep your money in Switzerland. It is possible for Nigeria to industrialize because we have gas. That source of energy that God put under our feet is the reason for us to lead Africa. On top of that, Nigerians are the most hardworking people you can find on earth. I know that for a fact because I have a lot of Nigerians working in my factory. They work 12 hours and they don't complain. It is now we are on our own saying, no, these people, they will even be more efficient if they work 8 hours. But what's our problem? We don't have 24 hours electricity. If we had that, we can just make 3 shifts of 8 hours. Because we don't know when we have light, so they have to stay around for so long. And it's unfair. It's unfair to them. They are human beings. We are working towards it, where we can get natural gas powered engine, because it is cheaper, 230 naira per standard cubic meter, compared to 1,200 naira per liter of diesel. You do the math. There are human beings in this country that have so much money, they don't even know what to do with the money. They will die and leave that money behind. Their children are in Europe, in America, driving expensive cars. Vanity. I'm challenging them. Bring some of that money to Nigeria and do something. Let it be seen that black people can be proud. Anywhere you come from, as long as you are a black man, you are an African. People should know that. Everybody is laughing at us as black people. We are last in everything. We can only take orders. Go to Chinese factory. Go and see our people. Call it Chinese master. In our own country. Are we not ashamed? We are driving the SUVs and we can make them. We can make them. So, in conclusion, let me summarize what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it is not the effort of the foreign powers that are stopping us from industrial manufacturing. We are the ones that are stopping ourselves. Because there's no country in the world that another country helped to industrialize. It is the sagacity of the leaders and the people that they fought and say they want to industrialize. I'll give you one example. There was a small war between China and Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union had the best tank. The Chinese were able to capture one of those tanks. And Mao Zedong gave instructions and said, do everything in your power to make sure that that tank is brought to China because they want to copy the technology. They lost thousands and thousands of people to defend that tank. And they were able to now send it to China. And that was the beginning of their development of modern tank that they now use as the template for manufacturing tanks. But today we don't have that problem because if anything you want to produce, you can buy it, you can buy the technology. You can employ people who are already doing it, people who are the experts. Why can't they do it in other countries? Because they don't have the source of fuel. Natural gas, they don't have it. Nigeria is number one in Africa. We should lead Africa. My point is, stop blaming other people for your problem. That's an excuse. It's the very foundation of failure. When you start to point your finger, it is foreign countries that are disturbing us. That's why we are not developing. That is the talk of a lazy man. Because we all know that the technology is already available. For example, American scientists and others were able to decode the human genotype. Within 24 hours, they made it public for all scientists to use it. How to manufacture anything is not a secret to anybody. The message I'm giving to you is that don't blame any foreign country for our inability to manufacture things. It is our own fault. It's up to us to go ahead and do the right thing by encouraging Nigerian entrepreneurs. I had a huge quarry in Ondo State. The Chinese, they came and surrounded me. Their government gave them so much money. They brought brand new excavators, brand new tippers, all their machinery brand new. They had enough money for explosives and they started producing and undercutting us. Within 3 years, they chased all Nigerians out of production of granite. So today, you cannot find a Nigerian that is into the manufacturing or production of granite. We use granite to do our roads, to build our houses, to make our bridges. Granite is a material that is always ubiquitous in construction. But today, the Chinese are dominating everything because their government is standing behind them, giving them all the necessary support to do it. Who is supporting Nigerian entrepreneurs? Nobody. Don't blame foreigners. Let somebody sit down and say, I am determined. I'm in a position of authority and I want to make a difference. All these things that we are using, let us see what we can manufacture. Because we don't have the technology, but we can employ people. At one time, I had 6 expatriates working for me. I'm sure Dangote has a lot of Indians working for him at his refinery. If he can do that, why can't he venture into industrial manufacturing of finished products? Government should encourage him. Dangote, for example, it seems he's been frustrated. 2 months ago, I was celebrating that Dangote is now buying crude oil in Naira and he's selling to the Nigerian government, the finished product. But just 2 days ago now, I read that he's not to buy in dollar and that he's now importing fuel from America, importing crude oil from America. Well, I don't know if that's the best way to encourage him. Somebody that they said has invested over 20 billion. That's the figure they have quoted. I don't think it should cost that much, but that's what they say. Assuming it's even half of that, it's a lot of money for an individual to invest. If you look at Dangote, for example, he's somebody that's a Nigerian hero. People should not be envious of him because there are people, I believe, have more money than Dangote are not investing 1 kobo in Nigeria. Dangote is a Nigerian patriot. When they are thinking of our heroes past, by the time Dangote dies, they should put his name as one of the heroes of Nigeria. Because he is actually investing in Nigeria. And when he spoke last time, I read his write-up or the summary of his comments. It sounded like somebody that has been frustrated by bureaucrats. Nigerian government ought to protect Dangote because he's investing in Nigeria. They should encourage him to get into industrial manufacturing. The moment Nigerians see that he's able to get into industrial manufacturing, and it is possible because it's unlike cement production. Cement production is raw material based where a few companies get the license to the limestone and then you have no access again. If you go and say, look, how about this cadastra? Say it belongs to Dangote. How about this cadastra? It belongs to Boa. And nature has only created X number of limestone cadastra. So you can't have too many people going into it. But if you are talking about industrial manufacturing, the raw materials for that is everywhere. Next time, I'm going to talk about why Ajakuta can never work. Why Ajakuta can never work. The same reasons I gave when people were talking about Gelegele Seaport in Edo State. I said it can never work. And they spent hundreds of millions of naira, I don't know how many millions of dollars they spent to do the study and all that, only to get to the conclusion that I reached even before they started. What I told them at that time, I said, go and look at the map of Nigeria. When you look at the map of Nigeria, you see that Edo State does not have access to the Atlantic Ocean. And so it is not possible to have a seaport in Edo State, period. Nobody listened. They continued. After wasting so much money, they now arrive at my conclusion. So next time, I'm going to talk about why Ajakuta can never work and why it is possible to industrialize without Ajakuta. Thank you everybody for listening. I am your advocate for the industrialization of Africa, beginning from Nigeria. The whole of Africa should be industrialized. The black race should stand up and wake up and be able to contribute to the development of mankind. Bye-bye, everybody. It is not the effort of the foreign powers that are stopping us from industrial manufacturing. We are the ones that are stopping ourselves. Before the white men came to Africa, who was disturbing us from industrialization? When you start to look for excuses, you will never be able to make progress. People say Nigeria is a giant of Africa. That is not true, but it can be true. If someone like Dangote, for example, is encouraged to employ Chinese as its workers. Think of the advantage of that to Nigeria. We need government to support more people like Dangote. We need government to encourage entrepreneurs that are very, very industrious. We should put that in mind, that the Chinese have no interest in Nigeria except to extract our resources and take the funds out. If Nigerians can run banks, why can't Nigerians run factories? The problem is lack of electricity. What is in a bicycle, for example? What is in a motorcycle? What they call keke and peg. Can't we start from there? The Chinese are making tires here with rubber bought from my factory. 1950, China was zero, but they had a plan. There are human beings in this country that have so much money, they don't even know what to do with the money. I'm challenging them, bring some of this money to Nigeria and do something. Don't keep your money in Switzerland. It is possible for Nigeria to industrialize because we have gas.